I have become influenced in my theme selection by the simple state of the world at large. This world is morphing in every way except the rationale for deliberating global solutions. We are living in a global state of conflict now that never really seems to end, and I struggle to see how generation after generation seems to make the same mistake in finding solutions: war. Ironically, my interest in Sun Tzu was inspired some years back with a pre-primary source on BBC about Genghis Khan. The Mongols seem to have a thirst for violence, yet Khan also mixed his approach to war with philosophical themes that matched some of Tzu's specific approaches to structuring the process of war to determine ultimate victory. So, war and the decisions surrounding the steps that lead to war are ancient, yet as you examine Sun Tzu you notice he has a touch of modern systematic analysis. The essence of war is strategic, and this process is based on logic and reasoning, but many wars defy logic and reasoning as a means for any resolutions of conflict. Enter Sun Tzu. As I begin my process of examining this work as a primary source, it appears that Tzu was examining the approach to war as one might approach an opening to a chess match. Examine the situation and the adversary and use caution in decisions when exploring all the possible long-term outcomes of the venture. He takes a somewhat philosophical outlook from an overview of the entire undertaking and prognosticates the outcomes. In my first venture, I have gone directly to what will be my primary source. The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu sometime around 500 BC. The work was never translated into English until Lionel Giles, curator at the British Museum and keeper of the Department of Oriental Manuscripts, did so in 1910. It appears to be a revered tactical Bible related to the concept of war. Victory is an outcome. The actual existence of Sun Tzu raises questions among many scholars investigating the history of great warlords and military strategists. Some various sources that profess to analyze the background of Chinese emperors and their elite generals imply that Sun Tzu may not have been a singular entity but a collaboration of many in the early evolution of the Chinese philosophy of war. I have dismissed this possibility because although documents that profess the existence and brilliance of this great leader exists, there is nothing but some innuendo in some scholars that discuss the history of Chinese warfare. Following Tzu's highly structured anticipation of deciding to wage war, again, like a chess master, he examines the complex intertwining of events, planning, and somehow demonstrates his what-if considerations. He implies many metaphysical implications lie within the decisive steps to engage war and raises the moral rationale in determining the ultimate price of the war. When we examine the current state of global conflicts, one cannot help but question how war has evolved. In our modern times, cultural tensions may subside for brief periods, but only because the potential for outcomes never become quite heightened enough for it to be on our mind consistently as individuals or countries. These times the engagement of a war is often conflicted and discouraged by public opinion, but it seems to have its origins in the same ancient anxieties, fear and distrust of opposition cultures, and/or greed and a quest for control. I have a strong inclination to address this phenomenon because I wish to have a greater understanding of the whole enigma that has engulfed our planet far before recorded time. Is war a natural human condition? That is unknown, and certainly as I begin examining the art of war, I try to extrapolate that conclusion as he presents his philosophic approach to the steps to war. We are the only species that engage in war. As you see Sun Tzu develop his art, you realize that the art is symbolic as he engages very distinct approaches that border on the politicizing of war and leaving minimal destruction behind. He is incredibly systematic, and his process lacks the spontaneity usually found in art forms, but he is strikingly creative. Various scholars, like Machiavelli, who critique his works, presume that war is always inevitable with humans, and many other war conservatives would probably find themselves in debate with Tzu because they believed violent war was always inevitable. Growing up in a video game generation and the video war games seems to imply that solutions, once conflict emerges, just might be influencing how many of us in my generation are perceiving this staggering world changer. Victory is the total of the amount of violence precipitated? That sounds like Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great, not Sun Tzu. Winning is eliminating those with whom are the conflicting adversaries? I believe that many of our peers see war as an abstract Captain America simplification. War, a phenomenon with a sole objective in each case, is something more, with cultures adapting and changing, but the strategies and causes have a distinct difference. I need to see how war has been adapted, if at all, and where provide solutions, if any. War, what is it good for? Some might say absolutely nothing. An ancient and medieval military history topic that I plan to explore by examining some of the cultures and their approach to warfare and distinguish what are the similarities and differences. The state of war has been timeless. The Neanderthals, Mongols, Vikings, as well as the Greeks and Romans inflicted their power for solutions and control. Through both the world wars and endless current conflicts, there must be a shared common causal approach based on beliefs, cultures, and their approach to war and the outcome. There are many major factors philosophically and tactically that are tied to different global cultures, and I will attempt that comparison as my research continues. During the process of this research, I will pursue several variations of cultural approaches to war and tactical warfare precepts developed in both contrasting and similar ways. Sue's chapters will be the most significant contributors to any conclusions as this study continues. Upon initial examination, it can be determined that Sun Tzu had extensive military background and was an astute war philosopher who had a specific systematic set of rules from which all actions and decisions were extrapolated. Digging through the facts about the life and times of Sun Tzu is challenging, as the historical conflict about many of the details of his life as a prestigious general that never lost a battle puts him in a category important to recognizing the precise elements of his approach and rationale for battle. Clearly, Tzu was similar in history to some other great conquerors and warriors across the globe, but a common element or philosophical difference in the culture needs to be examined for my comparison and argument premise. War is a consequence we engage to adapt and find solutions.
Okay, I'll need your feedback.